What would Inside Out, if it was the empty nester, what new emotions would be added at the empty nest phase?
This is the loud, quiet, living the empty nest. Hey guys, welcome back. Episode 44. This week has been a little bit of not good. I think I'm ready for June to be done. We had our one big high of, going out to visit Tanner for his birthday, which then I got COVID.
Yes, so, there it is.
Yeah. So
there were a lot of folks that are listening to you going, oh, what's up with Clancy?
Yeah.
That's what.
I've never had it. This is the first time. So Tegan is the only COVID virgin left in our house now. She has not had it, but
interesting. Is that a phrase? I've never heard that before.
But yeah, so this was the first time that I had it. And, we've said all along, oh, you probably had it and just didn't know it. No. I would have known it.
If you had one like this, your experience was not a good one.
Yeah. So,
and this is days. Yeah.
And it was, it's not as bad as, other people have had it. I'm done now. I'm ready to feel like myself again. You
don't do well with being sick.
Well, no.
And who does? What a silly statement. But at times when it's okay, you need to rest. You're up doing things. You're moving around.
No,
you're not the best patient.
Okay, you weren't even here, so don't. I spent all day Wednesday in bed. I spent a lot of Thursday in and out of bed.
Right.
But I cannot just lay in bed. I've watched all the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader shows. It was actually pretty good on Netflix.
It is true. You got to watch stuff that I have no interest in.
I watched the Sherry Papini Perfect Wife. I think that's on Amazon Prime. Very good, if you know that story. So yes, I binged watch. I don't think I even turned on the TV though a couple of days because my eyeballs were bugging out. But yeah, so. That is why I sound the way I do. I may not be as energetic as I usually am, but...
We'll see how this goes. Yes.
But I love talking to Tanner when he was like, oh, yeah, he's like, and Rick goes, how many times have you had? He's like, I think I'm up to 4. I was like, oh, my gosh.
Well, remember, he was one of the early ones because, he goes to school and decides to go to a frat party the first weekend.
Bounce back so fast.
Well, yeah.
But what, I know, but what makes me really angry... Which, speaking of angry, because we'll get into what we're talking about today, I am in good shape.
Oh, yeah. But the virus doesn't care.
But it does. I wanted to bounce back, and I'm not there yet. So, anyway.
No, you're not there. You certainly can hear it. You can see it. Personality. You see it. It's a part of... You have definitely gotten a lot better.
Yeah. I felt better enough yesterday that...
Well, what inspired this show, right? Mm. So, but yeah, I think all of us, and hopefully by the time this show is released, you'll be totally back to normal, God willing, right?
I better be.
Then we got some more serious issues going on.
Yeah.
Well, you were able to get out yesterday, and we decided to take advantage of Tegan's discount. And if you are somehow just now listening, but our daughter is home from college, she is working at Cinemark, which is a movie chain. So we're like, all right, we got ourselves some movies to go see. So we went and saw Inside Out 2. And I just thought of one picture that we will definitely be putting up there, because when you have a daughter who works in concessions, at Cinemark, there's discounts to be had. And not only do we get our tickets free, concessions are widely discounted. And so we went out in there, and Tegan was laughing at us
because
we're like little kids.
We're not concession people. No. Like, we rarely get...
Well, because they're always so expensive.
Well, that and... It's just crap. I mean...
Well, yeah, it's candy, popcorn, and junk.
So, yeah.
We were in there.
We were like, I'll take this
I'll
and
take
that.
Yeah. I'll take that. And so we've got a picture that we sent to Tanner that's almost like we're displaying our money out, Look at our riches with our candy and our popcorn. So we did. We went to go see Inside Out 2. And what we wanted to do today... And I want to encourage y'all, hang on. If you're watching, hang on until the end, because I want to do a little twist with this with us. You and I have talked about it, but I want to talk about Inside Out too, because the movie itself is amazing. but I want to talk about what it might mean to an empty nester, what that might look like. So hang tight as we get through the movie review, and then let's have a little discussion about the empty nest part of it.
And I love the fact that the first Inside Out, which, did we look up what year it came out?
I forgot.
Tegan was young, though. I mean, she was probably late elementary or early middle school, I think.
Probably.
And so, well, yeah, because this was when we actually went to the same theater, Frisco Square. Probably hadn't been open that long.
No, it was the new one. Then.
Yeah, and I mean, we stood in line
because you couldn't buy reserved seats. That gives you a context of how long ago that was.
Or online, you couldn't buy anything.
Yeah, right. You'd have to go early.
Anything.
You buy your tickets early, but you could not reserve a seat. So you had to, if you wanted not to sit on the front row looking straight up at the sky.
So and Tegan still remembers. And she said, we had to eat dinner at the theater because we were in line to make sure we got. And Tanner wasn't with us; it was just her and us. So I don't know what he was
soccer.
doing. Yeah,
there's probably something soccer.
But so that was full circle that we were going to see it at the same theater that we saw the first one.
And I can't imagine that viewers have not heard of the movie, but just in case, the setup is this is taking inside of a young girl's mind. The first one was when she was elementary school, and now she's 13. So Inside Out 2 is she's 13, and characters inside her mind are playing different emotions. So the first movie had joy, it had anger, it had disgust, and it had sadness. And
fear.
Who am I missing? Fear. Mm-hmm. So you had your 5, and it was a brilliant, just the way that they did it, both the physical manifestation of what a mind would look like and the journeys that they took place in there, along with weaving in what the emotions do and how that works inside of a little girl's mind. It is, for me, one of my top 10 movies. And that's a pretty high bar, but it has so caught me then and still catches me today how amazing it was.
And in the first movie, her parents, it also showed theirs too, and they had the same 5 emotions. That's right. Mm-hmm. And so it showed from their perspective too, how they were dealing with what their daughter was experiencing.
And there was allusion to this, but there was the big red button. And that big red button was, what is puberty? Right? That was kind of an ending joke in the first one. Well, now she's 13. Yeah. And she's, at least the beginning, I don't want to say too much, but obviously she's 13, and puberty introduces a whole host of new emotions.
We should say there will be some spoilers.
Oh, yeah, stop listening if you don't want to.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, or if you're planning on seeing it, I mean, there will be some spoilers, because we will be talking about things that, I don't even remember, I don't know how you want to get into it, but, the mountain of, so she has memories. Every memory is created into these little balls.
Right.
And in the first movie, those were more of the I think that was more of
it would get lodged into focus, a long-term memory at night, right?
And so I liked this time that they focused on the ones that they had been shooting out. And that's what was piling
up. The character
up.
Joy, who is focused on happiness, Joy, obviously, would, if a memory was, one that she didn't think that, I can't believe I'm brain farting the girl's name, but if she was, not the girl, that she didn't think the girl needed to record in long-term memory, she would physically shoot it to the back of the mind. And it was all of the stuff that was being put in the back of the mind.
What is her name?
I'm embarrassed.
Her friends were Grace, and they called her Minnesota the whole time. Right, but what was, oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Okay.
We have to think of her name before.
Clayton's going to start Googling on the side here while we're doing it. It is, and so in this one, they introduced that concept. That was not there before. And so that became an important part of this. Another thing they added to this one is her memories, the ones that were recorded in long term. Some of them Joy would take down and put into this sort of pond that would create her belief system, what she believed about life, what she believed about herself. And there was a physical, it almost looked like a flower object that would become what she believed about herself. Things like, I'm a kind person. I'm good at
friend.
I'm a good friend. I'm good at hockey. I'm good at, it's all positive sort of thing. Not in walks, but suddenly puberty happens. And it is a comical introduction into how puberty happens, including the introduction of, and this is in commercials, but yes, to some degree, spoiler, 3 of the most teenage-oriented emotions that there could be. It was fantastic. Your eyes are darting.
There's
Was there
4?
4? So we have anxiety, who plays a massive role in
She's
this.
the main character.
We have embarrassment.
Ennui.
Ennui. Who's
and envy.
Envy. I totally forgot about envy. And there's a 5th that kind of shows up, but not really. There's a bit of a joke with her, nostalgia.
Oh, yeah. But that's, she's not there yet. No. So we'll get to that one. But
anxiety was such a brilliant introduction of a character. And embarrassment created a ton of fun and that aspect of it. And embarrassment found itself linking up with sadness, which is a very logical choice. There's a key, and we're not going to probably I don't necessarily intend for us to review the entire movie or anything like that, but the climax of the movie and how they handled a particular deep-seated anxiety moment and how they got to this point and how this was building up into what the teenage girl's belief about herself and how anxiety was polluting her sense of self was brilliant.
Yes. I mean, if you imagine there's like this drawing or this room that has all of these characters in it, and they're all drawing worst case scenarios, and anxiety is just feeding them because she thinks she's doing the right thing to help
prepare her from something
the little
bad
girl,
happening.
yes, to be able to deal with, okay, but we've got to stop this from happening. So, she's drawing her missing a goal. She's drawing her,
friends abandoning her.
Yeah, like,
and it's all
just,
this took place as she was trying to go to sleep, and that's the thing that makes. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and this entire movie took place over one weekend.
Yeah.
They were just at hockey camp. So
this scene that you're talking about is when she was trying to go to sleep. And so imagine how anxiety, not the character, but anxiety as it plays in our lives, how that does exactly that we start thinking about a worst case scenario because we're trying to plan for it, we're trying to prepare for it, and how that keeps us awake.
Yes.
And it's just flooding into our forefront of our mind while that is happening.
And anxiety is just whirling around the board while Joy is in there trying to get them to draw different things, happy things, so that she could have happy thoughts.
Which is when she started to fall asleep. When those, and they were just sort of innocuous, not planned. And it is what was, and I think Tegan is the one who said this on the way home, but we all felt that way. Anxiety wasn't necessarily portrayed as the villain.
No.
Anxiety was an emotion that at her heart, anxiety was trying to do what anxiety thought was right for the girl, even though it was wrong for the girl. And the again, spoilers, hit your mute button. What ended up becoming sort of the manifestation of the girl's self-belief was weaving all of these emotions together, not just things that are forefront. There's a key element in how the release of all of those thoughts from the back of the mind were able to be what unlocked the girl and be able to then create her full sense of self, not just the idealized sense of self.
Well, and what Joy said, I think Joy is the one that said it to anxiety, it's okay that we have these emotions, but you don't get to control all of her.
That's right.
Self. And so it showed you, and I think it showed that Joy realized, okay, we can't be happy all the time either.
Joy had a bit of a discovery,
which, in the first movie, we did introduce sadness and, so there were other emotions and anger. But that one statement of you don't get to control all of her thoughts.
Right.
So yeah, it was a amazing depiction of we all deal with lowercase anxiety.
Right. The
But-
non-clinical version
But,
of it.
you know, her having, because the girl, while all of this stuff is going on, she's sitting in the penalty box and she's having a panic attack. And
leaning over, heavy breathing, heart is
Yes.
racing. She
I
can't
mean,
control it.
and to see it going on, who I don't know who wrote this, but whoever wrote it is depicting. I mean, it was just a perfect depiction of what.
Imagine the Tasmanian devil and
Yeah.
that swirlingness of the Tasmanian devil. It was in the orange strings because anxiety is depicted as the orange color, and just spinning around the control board that is the control board of the girl's mind. And seeing that swirl and the chaos of that swirl, you could feel it. You could, any of us who have gone through a moment like that, know, you're looking at that going, that's exactly what happened to me.
Yeah, it was just it was spot on.
Yeah. Plenty
Very,
of
very
humor and all of that in there as
yeah.
well. This isn't it was a ton of laughs. Let's not say all of them, but there's some that
Mostly adults there yesterday. There were not a lot. Mostly adults and kids, Tegan's age.
Yeah.
I don't even think I saw many younger than
Right.
her. Which your young ones can see it because there's not anything bad in it, but they won't understand.
there's a
lot
level
of
they
it,
won't get
you
at
know?
all. They'll just enjoy they'll
Yeah.
enjoy the fun,
Yeah.
the hijinks that exist and the silliness that does happen. Writing on her stream of consciousness that when she was super hungry, her stream of consciousness was filled with pizzas and hamburgers and all that, until somehow anxiety was able to throw things in like broccoli. Which I love broccoli.
And
but yeah.
disgust is like, not doesn't even want to get on it.
She won't ride the broccoli because disgust is so appalled. There was, and so that's the show. That's Inside Out 2. There, you and I are not movie reviewers. There is a ton more that could be said about it, should be said about it. I will just simply say brilliant. End of message.
Casting,
Go watch
very
it.
good, yes.
Absolutely. And half the fun is trying to recognize the voices. You were starting.
No, I was just gonna say Ennui. Oh my
Ennui
gosh,
is so much fun.
yeah, she's the moody.
And she's French.
Doesn't care, and she's just like this long, tall, and she's just laying on.
Her head is always rolled backwards because she's so bored.
She doesn't even want to get up and control the controller, so she just has it on her phone now. I mean,
Ennui was a lot of fun. There was a character that was introduced, but it was just, and this old little lady comes out, and her name is Nostalgia. And Joy goes, no, not yet. No. At least 10 years. We've got to get through marriage. We've got to get through college graduation. And so so she shoved her back in there. But it gave me a little bit of a thought. And it's the one that I want to talk about with you today is we did say this on the way home. Inside Out was elementary school. Inside Out 2 is when she's a teenager, a puberty teenager. I don't know if they can do Inside Out 3 because you're starting to get into some serious topics. If you're talking about like high school or college, like, are you going to really deal with the emotion of temptation when it's drugs or alcohol or sex or those kind of things? But it got me thinking beyond that. What would Inside Out, if it was the empty nester, what new emotions would be added at the empty nest phase? And I got a couple that came to mind, but I'm curious if beyond those.
okay, my brain is not working like 100%. Maybe is that one forgetfulness? Maybe that's not really an emotion, but
That's just a state. That was Paul had made a joke. Our preacher Paul made a joke similar to that about forgetfulness on stage today when he was describing conversation.
the nostalgia is definitely, and obviously we've brought that into our
Absolutely.
podcast.
Let me.
Maybe I don't have so much anxiety, but maybe worry.
Okay.
Worry, which goes along, but not so much worry for you and me, but worried about your kids
Got
because
it.
they're not under your roof anymore. You can't keep total tabs on them.
So take anxiety and fear, and just point outward. That it's not your internal fear about something or your internal anxiety about it. It's the outcome of the outward. Yeah, I could see that.
I think there's certain ones that, I don't know. I don't know that there's new emotions or if it's just because obviously we still have joy, we still have anger, we still have fear, we have all of those. I don't know that I get embarrassed as much anymore because I just don't care.
Yeah, so maybe the big pink bulbous embarrassment guy isn't
like there.
Yeah.
See, I don't care. Maybe
I wish I could isolate. I don't care.
Maybe that's what, and I don't know that it's necessarily equated with empty nester, but just getting older.
Sure, right.
What would be the emotion to where, I don't care what other people think of me anymore. It's not like I'm some raging bitch or something, but you know what I mean? I don't care.
Is that going to be the title of the episode? It's not like I'm some raging bitch. Well, episode 44.
There were definitely times in our life that, and especially, I can only speak for myself, that if something was going on and I couldn't go because we had something else, I'd be like, oh, I don't want to, now I'm like
a FOMO kind of.
And now I'm like, I don't care, and I just don't. You get what I'm saying?
I do. I don't know I do get what you're saying. I don't know what the label is.
Maybe
it's almost like a mature version of ennui.
Yeah, it's almost like an indifference, but not.
Which is so negative.
But,
what's the positive version of I don't care, right? So the that's interesting, that one. I think we need to probably off air. Let's figure out what the label is for that, because you're right. It's almost a non-emotion. That you aren't feeling emotion about what others think.
And not trying to impress other people anymore. Now, and Paul brought this up today, I am trying everything in my power to not age. So I don't know what that emotion is, but that one is very high on my list of when he said... One of the questions he asked us today was, what do you spend most of your time devoted to on a daily basis? Mine is anti-aging.
So there's elements in there. And again, it's kind of, these are negative words. And so I don't mean that, but pride was not an emotion that was brought into. And so perhaps, which is kind of the opposite of the I don't give a, but perhaps... vanity.
Well,
but these are all negative.
But here's the thing is that I'm not doing it for other people. I'm doing it for myself because I look at myself in the mirror and I see wrinkles and I see old lady legs and I see things that, so I don't care. I'll walk around. It's not like I don't leave my house or anything, but that's an internal me thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's where and again, forgive me for the words. I don't have my thesaurus active in my brain right now, but it's kind of the pride and vanity, but it's internal, not so much what others would think of me. So you combine it with that I don't give a, and that. Ooh, those are interesting. We didn't talk about this before, other than the question itself, so I didn't know that was going to be your answer.
But that's always been. I'll just get body image has always been a thing with me since at a very young age or youngish age. Mm-hmm. So that's just something, I don't do it to a detrimental state. There probably were some times that I was, but that's just always been a thing with me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I don't know what we label that, but yeah, that's interesting. Okay, that one's good. That one's good. Like you needed the validation. Let's just strike that from there. That's just a transition phrase. I'm intrigued by that.
So what are yours?
The one that came to mind for me, again, nostalgia, but that she was already introduced. Mm-hmm. Cynicism. Mm. I am finding myself combating cynicism. And even the book that you and I have joked about writing is rooted in cynicism and calling out where
get off my
I got
lawn.
A lot of problems with you people.
Old man, get off my lawn.
When we watch, and you and I are very specifically non political in this, but when we watch a debate that was such a disaster for two people, that there are such awful choices available for us from a government perspective, when the truck pulls out in front of us driving like a ridiculous person as an indicator of what everyone else is doing on the road, when I'm coming home, and I'm not kidding that over half of the people when I look over are on their phone on the tollway, and you could list all these things that I find myself allowing cynicism to creep in. And I don't think that I would have said that word. I wouldn't have even thought of this question for us to talk about today if we hadn't watched that Steve Martin documentary last night, where he said, at 75, I'm happier than I've ever been before. And while happiness is not what we're talking about here, but I sense an optimism, a contentment, and a comfort that I think in older age and an empty nest, I think there's a branching that you can really go down I'm going to just become more cynical. The world is crap, and I wish it were the way it were in the 70s and 80s. Or I'm going to be optimistic about all the great things that have happened to me in my life and that are happening in the world and all of that. So to me, those two emotions aren't new, but cynicism and optimism, I think, are ones that start to take on a different role in the control panel of the mind. So inside out empty nest would introduce those two. And you'd have the crotchety get off my lawn guy, and you'd have however optimism would be manifested.
I mean, I can see it in myself too. And like, we went down a path of it the other night at dinner.
You cut us off, and I think I valued that you did.
Not you. I was
there was a time that we did, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. No,
that day that we were traveling, you're like, hey, all right, we're done.
You know what? Look, is my microphone on?
Yeah.
Okay. I sound weird. Sorry.
You're just a lot closer.
I'll let you go back and say whatever you want to about the plane, since that's where I probably got COVID. So... But yes, it was getting a little bit too much for me.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is, the other night at dinner with my girlfriends, we started down the path. And I don't know if it's because now our kids are all out of the schools. We don't have to love where we live anymore because we're not stuck here. If we wanted to go and do something about it, we can go do something about it.
Right.
So I don't know if it's just creating more cynicism because we don't have to kind of be Pollyanna about it because we know we're, doing what's right for our children at the time. Yeah. I don't know, but
I don't know that I don't think it's an either or. Like, I think that's a factor in it. Mm-hmm. I can be grumpy about here's a great example. I can be grumpy about how North Texas is not all that attractive. Or I can be really optimistic about, that trail over here that is right here in our neighborhood? It's beautiful when you're inside the trail. It's a matter of what you look at. And I realize this gets into, the roots of amateur psychology and what you choose to focus on or whatever. But I think that those are... and not to the exclusion of what you were talking about, emotions coming in. I think these are some of those categories that would be part of inside out the empty nest years.
Yeah. It's mindset. And that is in every phase of your life. Tegan was even talking about it, and I think she'd be fine with me talking. She was even talking about when she was watching the negative things being drawn and sent to the girl, she said, I used to do that. I'm sure she would do that before every cheer competition.
She mentioned drill
being
team
the flyer, just visualizing things that could go wrong. Mm-hmm. Drill team, yes, visualizing, I've forgotten this, I've forgotten that, Yep. But yeah, so it's so interesting, why do our minds go to that place? It's just,
well, I have a spiritual answer to that because
Satan.
Because of actual evil that exists in the world, right?
Sure.
Is a spiritual answer. And so I think having to consciously fill your mind with the thoughts that are good is how I will say this. first was thinking about this concept as a question and cynicism came to mind, I don't want to be the crotchety old man. I don't think that's who I am. And so if I don't want to become that, then I can't just passively hope that doesn't happen. I have to consciously choose to seek out optimism. And yeah, you and I have a very sarcastic bent at times, and there's always going to be elements of where we're commenting on life as we see it. But making sure that humor doesn't then manifest into deeper cynicism is key.
And we didn't talk about how they depicted sarcasm.
I was avoiding that one.
That was new.
Yeah.
I liked that because, it created basically, a chasm.
Sarcasm.
And people on this side would say something and it would come across as sarcastic. And so that was interesting depiction. And I think one thing I have issues with, and I don't think I did this as much except as the kids have gotten older. I play every, like yesterday, Tanner was going out on the lake. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what if something happens to their boat? What if something happens? I start thinking about, okay, Tegan's driving home from work tonight late. It's just,
That's your external anxiety we're talking about.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's not focused on me.
Yeah.
It's focused on them. Yeah. And so I have to then say, nope, stop. But yeah.
There's almost like there's anxiety and anxiety. Here, maybe we just introduced a new clinical term. Anxiety. That's harder to say, but anxiety. And that anxiety that you're describing it probably started showing up the moment that the kids were not physically co-present, whether that was younger or later, but that it certainly grows in the empty nest phase.
And I think, I can tell, in the last month, you and I have been creating scenarios that have not played out.
Correct.
Every
single time, I think the right word "every" is accurate here. That we've come up with a scenario, it's been false, and I don't want to talk about the context of it, but it's been false.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I'm going to choose optimism on that. What a great lesson for us in a safe way. That nothing was damaged, no relationships were harmed, no physical things, like nothing bad actually happened, and therefore, what a great lesson for me, and it sounds like a lesson for you, and then a lesson for us of, all right, listen, orange anxiety.
Yeah.
Let's dial that back.
Yeah.
Let's bring that optimism emotion back in and let cynicism take a back seat. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, this was fun.
This was a mini therapy session.
Okay, so you've knocked your microphone out. Probably time for us to wrap up here. Do go out and see Inside Out 2. Pixar, if you'd like to reach back to us about let's shop talk this Inside Out, the empty nest years. Just reach on out. We'll work this together. Maybe.
Hopefully next week I'll sound more like myself.
We'll call that the recovery.
Yeah.
Well, once again, it has been a wide-ranging but a lot of fun on The Loud Quiet, Living the Empty Nest.